Coming to power, he reshaped the history of all humanity. It was he who transformed the Roman Empire into a monarchical state, organized the most brutal persecutions of Christians, and at the same time, created the conditions that contributed to the transformation of Christianity into a world religion. In November of the year 284, Diocletian took the helm of power. In the 3rd century AD, nothing remained of Rome's former might, as we remember it from the times of Caesar and Augustus. The state was torn by internal strife. Emperors succeeded one another with astonishing speed. Anyone, having secured the support of a handful of legionaries at the right moment and in the right place, could seize supreme power. On average, a ruler could expect to live no more than 2 years. However, around the year 245, this happened in one of the Roman settlements, not in Italy, but in Dalmatia, approximately where Montenegro is now located. Moreover, it was this infant who became the first truly free member of his family. His father was a freedman, previously belonging to Senator Alinus. Nevertheless, the stigma of slavery often remains with a family forever, so only one path in life was open to the young man. And it was in this field that he proved himself an outstanding warrior, rapidly advancing through the ranks. He was no mere brute soldier. Wandering with the army through the Roman provinces, the young man carefully observed life in all corners of the empire. His discerning mind quickly grasped how the empire's administrative system truly functioned, not as it was portrayed in senator speeches. During one of the military campaigns, a druidess foretold to the young warrior that he would become emperor after defeating a boar. Naturally, he took this prophecy literally and became a terror to all unfortunate boars in Roman territories. In vain, however. Yet, the prediction came true, albeit in a most unusual way. By that time, still under Emperor Probus, Diocles had been appointed governor of Moesia. Under his successor, Emperor Carus, he became commander of the domestici, the personal guard. And after the natural death of Carus, which was extremely atypical for those times, he faced the situation where Carus's young son Numerian ascended the throne, only to be treacherously murdered by his father-in-law, Aper, the head of the Praetorian Guard. Because of this act, the legionaries fell into an indescribable rage. The treacherous Aper was seized, and Diocles personally executed him, exclaiming, "I have slain the boar." This was because Aper in Latin translates to boar or wild pig. By this demonstrative execution, Diocles sought to show that the druidess's prophecy had been fulfilled, and simultaneously made it clear that he intended to fiercely protect his own life, meaning new conspiracies were not to be contemplated. On the 20th of November 284, Diocles was proclaimed the new emperor. He himself adopted the more sonorous and majestic name, Diocletian. The new ruler immediately began reforming the state administration system and announced the creation of a new system. Previously, the Principate system was in effect, where emperors were essentially senators, first among equals. Princeps and emperors were elected by the Senate. In the new order established by Diocletian, the Senate lost any significant role in proclaiming the emperor. The remnants of the Republic, which the Roman state had legally remained all this time, were eliminated. Henceforth, the emperor's will was above all laws and citizens of the empire, regardless of their status. However, Diocletian quickly realized that sole rule did not yield the results he expected. Therefore, he appointed his friend Maximian as Caesar, meaning also an emperor, but of a rank lower than Augustus. This diarchy did not last long, as two emperors proved insufficient for effective governance, border defense, and suppression of rebellions. Therefore, in the year 293, the Tetrarchy was established. He and Maximian were joined by two more Caesars, Galerius and Constantius Chlorus, who was the father of that very Constantine the Great, who later established Christianity throughout the empire. However, this was preceded by horrific persecutions. To this day, historians cannot agree on who initiated the crackdowns on Christians, whether it was Galerius, an ardent pagan, or Diocletian himself, fearing the growing influence of Christians, whom he believed could harm the empire. In the year 303, an edict was issued that stripped Christians of all rights, effectively even Roman citizenship. Their sacred books were burned, they were tortured, and they were forbidden to seek legal protection in court. However, the persecutions varied in intensity across different regions of the empire. Everything depended on the co-ruler. Sometimes it was enough to bring any book for burning, even a collection of culinary recipes. And holding a piece of meat intended for the altar in one's hands was counted as a sacrifice to the gods. But not everyone agreed even to this. And then the executions were particularly cruel. Many Christian saints emerged during this very period. But times had changed dramatically. Roman citizens, formerly pagans, began to view Christians with sympathy. Many even joined their side. As a result, the persecutions gradually subsided, and the religion itself became increasingly popular. Therefore, as soon as Constantine the Great became emperor in the year 313, he immediately issued an edict permitting free conversion to Christianity. Thus began a new era, the Christian and, in a broader sense, Abrahamic era, which continues to this day. This happened in the very same year that Diocletian died. But he himself had long since retired from affairs by that time. On the 1st of May 305, he solemnly abdicated power and retired to his native village. And when his former co-rulers tried to persuade him to return, he invariably replied, "If only you could see the cabbage I have grown."